Okay, so we're starting from التدريب التاسع, the ninth exercise. It says أكمل كالمثال, complete like as shown in the example. مثال, example they're giving us يأكل, they're leaving a blank and then they're giving us a word الولد. Basically this is the file, the door. يأكل الولد. And then they are giving us مفعول به. Okay, so they're giving us file and then مفعول به, which is the subject and the object. And then we're supposed to just connect them and make it simple exercise. Nice. So يأكل الولد التفاحة. And these are very easy for us, inshallah. So we understand the file is takes dhamma and مفعول به takes a fatha. I'll just do one example because it seems very simple. يحفظ التلميذ القرآن. تلميذ is a student, same thing as طالب. So the student is memorizing. What is he memorizing? القرآن. Okay, so I don't have to write it. It's very simple, right? Maybe I'll just do one right up, whatever. يحفظ التلميذ, here's the dhamma, القرآن, here's the fatha, يحفظ. Now, so one thing to note, because we have objects, so all of these verbs are transitive verbs. I'll read them through and inshallah you can do them very simple. I don't see any complication here. So as you can see, the qaddama here, it's we used as a submit. Okay, submit. It can also, in here we can use we cannot use a submit. It says قدمت al-um. So the doer, the file, is the mother, which is feminine. That's why we are using قدمت with the this is called ta sakina, ta tahnis al-sakina. This is a feminine ta. So what did she do? At-ta'am. So we cannot say the mother submitted the food. Okay, so what does qaddama means? What does it mean here? It means to offer, to present. Qaddama also comes in these kind of meanings, right? I've been telling you guys that you have to broaden the meaning of the words, because most of the words has a lot of different meanings and you pick them up from the context. جيد. For the next تدريب, التدريب العاشر, the 10th exercise, it says ضع كل كلمة في جملة. So give or put every word in a sentence. I think I mentioned to you, when you say kul, after kul, if the word is mufrad, if it's singular, then we translate as every. So when we say kulli kalimatin, then we say every word. But if you say kulli kalimatin with plural, then we say all words. You understand? So that's how we distinguish between every and all. So all of these words, I'm pretty sure we have them before. We know قابل يقابل, to meet, أسبوع, which is the week. صف, we talked about. It could be a classroom, it could be row. Mustawa, we had all of them before, right? تنتهي, this is from intaha. Intaha, I think we also had this one before. Intaha yantahi, which means to finish. You finish something. Intahaitu min ad-durus. I finished the lessons. Now, جيد. So, try your best to use them in example in a sentence. Inshallah, you can do them. Next تدريب we have التدريب الحادي عشر. 11th exercise. It says يدرس أحمد اللغة العربية في جامعة أم القرى. What do they want us to do? Then they give us Kamal. Okay, so this is a good exercise in a sense that it's very simple, but I think it's talking about Iqra. So this would be a very useful so we can get used to reading, sort of like speaking, getting comfortable with pronunciation, and just getting comfortable with speaking Arabic. It's very simple, but if you repeat them a few times with all of these examples, you will see you can construct uh, this sentence from your own without too much effort. So you just simply change this word. In next line, you say يدرس كمال. Here's a mistake. اللغة العربية. Okay, because these are مفعول به. في جامعة أم القرى. So you simply replace the Ahmed to Kamal. And now they want us to change something to Makkah al-Mukarramah. Okay, so let's see what he's changing. يدرس كمال اللغة العربية في مكة المكرمة. Okay, في مكة. Remember this word, it is ممنوع من الصرف, doesn't take a كسرة. جيد. يدرس كمال القرآن الكريم في مكة المكرمة. Okay, so you're supposed to change the dars from يحفظ كمال القرآن الكريم في مكة المكرمة. So now one thing to note, when you read with tanwin, here we have kamalun, and the way I'm reading right now is I'm separating. I'm saying يحفظ kamalun, then I'm saying al-Quran al-Karim. I'm not connecting them. So in order to connect, what do you do? How do you connect? Do you say يحفظ kamalul? How do you connect with tanwin to kamalul Quran? How do you do this? Do you know? Yeah, so so what happens is that in order to do it properly, correctly, you have to know the secret behind this tanween. Okay, so you have to extract the tanween. Yes, excellent. So this basically, tanween is you have a small noon, you have a noon sakina. So kama lun. This kamalun, see, we're pronouncing kamalun, but we're not writing it, but actually we have kamalun. This noon, lam has a one dhamma and noon has sakin, sukun. So in this case, which we already know, if this was like that, then how do we read Hamzatul Wasl? We talked about this. Most of the time, what do? We put a kasra. So what happens is that we have to put a kasra here. Kamalunil Quran al-Kareem. Yes, excellent. Kamalunil Quran al-Kareem. Kamalunil Quran al-Kareem. Good. And most people would just say Kamalun al-Quran al-Karim. That's fine, but especially in the Quran and everything, these are the rules you need to know. So I think it's easy, inshallah, you can do them. Then we have At-Tadrib al-Thani Ashar, which is the 12th exercise. It says, اقرأ الجمل ولاحظ ولاحظ الفرق بين المجموعة ألف ومجموعة باء. Now, so read the sentences and note لاحظ يلاحظ. This is a command verb. Okay, the verb is لاحظ لاحظ يلاحظ يلاحظ. This is a command verb, so there should have been a sukun, but because of the same situation we just talked about, you have Hamzat al-Wasl, so we put a kasra on the la. So it's asking you to notice. La hadha yulahidu is to notice something, to look into something. Okay, so note the farq, the difference between the majmu'ah is a group that we talked about, group alif or hamza, and the group ba. So he basically wants us to read these sentences and notice the differences. Let's see what's the difference. It says حضر الطالب The student attended. نجح التلميذ. Okay, so najaha is to be success. Okay, succeeded. التلميذ, the student succeeded. نام الولد, the boy slept. طبخت الأم, the mom cooked. I think all of these words we know. صلت البنت, the girl prayed. This one, the word is actually صلى with the with this alif maksura. صلى, right? So, but when we add the ta with the sukun, what happens? Because we want to make it feminine, because of the bint, right? So we have a problem because we have ya with the sukun, ta with the sukun. Two sukun cannot come together in Arabic language. So someone has to sacrifice, and the one would be sacrificing is the weak letters. Weak letters are alif, waw, and ya. So what letter is this? This is alif. So we remove them. Now, تكلم, this is mistake. تكلمت المعلمة. So it should be تكلمت المعلمة. Okay. So the teacher, female teacher, spoke or had a conversation. Clear? So let's see what we have here. It says صعد المعلم السلم. صعد means to climb. I think we also have had this one before. Sulam is stairs or ladder. كتب عمر الطلبة. So Omar wrote the request. فحص الطبيب المريض. So فحص, we also had this one before, to examine. The doctor examined the sick, right? The sick patient. عدت البنت المائدة. عدة, we talked about this one, to prepare, right? The girl prepared the table, dinner table. صلت الأسرة المغرب. The family prayed the Maghrib. طبخت الأم الطعام. The mother cooked the food. So what's the difference? What they're showing us here? Actually, they're showing us very interesting and important thing is that what we've been talking about all this time, that there are two types of verbs. Okay, all the verbs can be divided into two types. You have transitive and intransitive. So transitive in Arabic is called lazim. Let me write it down. الفعل اللازم. فعل اللازم. So this is intransitive verb. Okay. Then we have transitive verb, which is called الفعل المتعدي. متعدي. Okay. Anyway, this is Ain. So these are the two types of verbs, transitive or intransitive. So what is lazim? It's intransitive in a sense that you cannot put a object into this type of verbs. Okay, you can, for example, if you say حضر الطالب, the student came. Is there a way to put any object in this verb? You can't, you don't require any more object. It's just finished. Even if you wanted to, you would have hard time putting an object. نجح التلميذ. Okay, so the student succeeded. Nama al-waladu, the boy slept. That's no other object. You cannot put any object in it. It's intransitive. It doesn't require any object. Your sentence and the meaning is clear. Okay, everybody would understand what you mean. But some of them are not. For example, some of them can go either way. For example, طبخت al-um. When you say the mother cooked, okay, so this verb is actually transitive because you can put something. She cooked what? You can answer that. So that's why we have the same verb here with the transitive, with the object. طبخت الأم الطعام. But this one, النام, you can't. So So basically what they're showing us that we have verbs that is intransitive, which does not need, or it cannot have any object, maf'ul bihi. And then we have a verbs that is transitive, that would need object to make the sentence complete. Okay? So for example, if you were to say kataba Omar, you say kataba Omar, Umar wrote. There is, something in your mind, like you want to know, okay, fine, great. What did he write? Okay, so you are kind of like waiting for the answer. The thing, what they're doing here is not that transitive verb would 100% require an object, then you might get it confused, because sometimes you will see the transitive verbs are using or being used as intransitive, meaning it does not have any, they don't use any object. For example, here sallatil bint. Okay, so the girl prayed. Okay, so now this verb, it is transitive verb, but you can use in context. If you understand, the rule is that if the context is there, people would understand the object, or it does not require more clarification, then you can remove the maf'ul bihi, you can remove object. For example, let's say in a situation you just want to mention that the girl prayed. Only thing you care about if everyone prayed or not. So you can say, yeah, Salatil bint. Yes, the girl prayed. You're not concerned about what did she pray. But what I want to tell you first, that this one would not be considered, even if we don't have a maf'ul bihi, we cannot consider this one as intransitive, because this verb is not intransitive. The difference between the two is that the one that is intransitive, fi'l lazim, you cannot add a maf'ul bihi. You cannot add an object. There's no way for you to add an object. Like this would be, there's nothing we can do. There's no way we can add any object to this verb nama. Okay, so these are the lazim. There's no way you can add. Sometimes you can add some type of clarification using the preposition. For example, you can say jalasa. Jalasa. So jalasa is intransitive. You can say jalasa al-waladu. The boy sat. Clear. But if you want to clarify something, you can say ala al-kursi. Okay, so you can clarify, but this is not a coming as a maf'ul bihi. It's not an object, right? You can clarify by preposition or more additional information. Okay, so if the context is there and it does not require further clarification, or if it does not require object for the context, okay, then you can drop the maf'ul bihi. You can drop the object. But if context is not clear, you cannot just stop. For example, you cannot just say that kataba Omar. Then your listener definitely want to know, what did he write? Why are you telling me that he wrote and you're not telling me what did he write? So then the object would be necessary. So he's showing you sometimes you can omit the object if it is clear from the context, and sometimes you have to put them, right? So here they're showing both of them. Makes sense? So the main point to note is that we have two types of verb. We have al-fi'l al-lazim, which is intransitive verbs, and we have al-fi'l al-muta'addi, which is transitive verbs. Okay, intransitive verbs, you cannot have a maf'ul bihi. You cannot have a object. But for the intransitive verb, most of the time it would be required for you to put a object. When you study verbs, the grammar books, they will tell you that it is must, obligation for you to put a object for the transitive verbs, muta'addi. But then they will talk about, okay, fine, it is an obligation, but what are the conditions? You can omit them. So it's still muta'addi, still requires a verb. It still requires a object, but there are certain conditions you can drop the object. Just like even in nominative sentence, you can say like, what is your name? You say Muhammad. You completely dropped the mubtada. You completely dropped the subject. You're supposed to say, my name is Muhammad. But from the context, you can drop it. But how do you make a complete sentence? You need mubtada and khabar. So when you study, they will tell you to make a nominative sentence, you need the subject and predicate. But based on the context, sometimes you can drop. So this is something to keep in mind. There's a lot of more discussion. I just don't want to bring up the whole thing here. But at this stage, they're just trying to make you aware that sometimes the verb needs an object. Sometimes you can omit them for the transitive verbs. Okay, clear? Now, then we have 13th exercise. Okay, so I'm not going to go into this thing anymore. I already went big in details about the numbers. So what they're doing this time, they are using the feminine numbers. Remember the last time they only give us the masculine, but I did mention the feminine variants. Okay, so there's not much I want to talk here. If you're confused, you should refer to that lesson. Okay, so basically it's exactly the same numbers. They're just bringing up what? They're bringing up the feminine. I'll just review two key points to remember. Okay, not two, maybe more. Just a few key important things to remember to make your numbers easy. Number one, what I said is that 1 and 2. Okay, 1 and 2, they will always match. I'm not talking about the number 1 and 2. I'm just talking anytime you see number 1 and 2 in any number, whether it's 1, 2, 11, 12, 21, 22, 31, 32, wherever you see the number 1 and 2, they will always match gender of the number you're describing. Okay, regardless whether it's 11, 12, 21, 22, or wherever you see. The 1 and 2, the number 1 and 2 by itself would be adjective. Like when you say 1 pen, 2 pens, 1 girl, 2 girl, yes, then it would be an adjective. So here, yes, when you say 1 and 2, it is completely a sifa. But look what happened here. When you see 11, it's also matching the gender. I don't know if you remember the last time when we talked about 11, we were using muallim. It was ahada ashar. It wasn't ihda because it was masculine. So here, ithnata, you see this ta? It's coming because you're talking about the feminine. So anywhere you see, إحدى وعشرون, اثنتان وعشرون. See this ta? This all of every time you have 1 and 2, regardless in which number it is, if you're describing a feminine, it would be matching with the feminine. It will just simply match the gender. This is 1 and 2. So what do you think is going to happen from 3 to 9 or 3 to 10? It will be the opposite. So you understand? So 1 and 2, regardless where you see the number, it can be like for example 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, doesn't matter. Right now I'm only talking about the genders because I've already explained how to form these numbers in the previous lesson. Right now I'm just giving you one technique you can always keep in your mind to make this the number things a little bit easier, because you have to deal with the gender and you also have to deal with the constructions. So a lot of things goes within doing the number properly. So the gender is very easy if you think like that. Anytime you see 1 and 2, we have to match the gender. And anytime we see more than, not more, like anytime we see 3 and 9, it would be, or 3 or 10, I should say. Anytime we see from 3 to 10, it would be opposite of the gender. Okay, so let's see. We have thalathu. Why we have thalathu, not thalathatu? Because we are talking about feminine. Now let's see this same number. Even if it's in 13, we see thalatha. Even if we see did they give us? Yes, 23 is thalatha. Sorry, thalathu. I mean with masculine. Okay, in 13 we see thalath without the tamarbuta, and we even in 23 we see thalath without the tamarbuta. Why? Number 3 to 10 is always opposite of the gender. So if you get this one right, then you have to worry about the other ones, but which I've already mentioned. Okay, so at least keep this one in mind, because sometimes, if you understand this much, at least you will not get the gender wrong. So yeah, the numbers tricky business, but I think slowly, you're getting used to it, inshallah. It's hard, but inshallah it requires a little bit of practice. Another thing I wanted to mention, usually numbers are, if you want to find where does the numbers belong, it actually belongs in the grammar topic called the tamyiz. Okay, this is a special grammar topic called tamyiz. So numbers are usually, you will find them in the tamyiz sections. Just a side note. Clear? Now, so now let's read. We have التدريب الرابع عشر. We have 14th exercise. We have a passage. It says اقرأ, read. جاء أحمد ليتعلم اللغة العربية. جاء, we know this verb, to come. أحمد, so Ahmad came. ليتعلم اللغة العربية. So we have يتعلم. The verb is يتعلم with the dhamma, but why don't we have a dhamma? Because of this li. Now this is another topic. I think we have seen some of the cases when the present tense verb gets a fatha, right? One of them was an. Uridu an. Okay, if you say I want to learn Arabic, because learn is I want to learn is أتعلم أتعلم أتعلم. But if you want to say I want to learn, then you say أريد أن أتعلم. This dhamma becomes a fatha. Okay, so this is one of the things we've seen. There's also kai. We've talked about them, right? Learn. So we haven't got all of them in this book. The book is not teaching them, but we have seen. Pretty sure we have seen an. And there's another word which is when we have li, when the present as verb is preceded by harful jar li. Okay, here. There's a lot of discussion about all of these things. I don't want to get involved right now because, yeah, this discussion is pretty long. I don't know if I should bring this topic up or not. Right now, I think it's better to just learn all of these words as a separate, that they all make present tense verb into a mansub, because if you go into grammar, they will say the harful jar li does not make it into fatha. There is a hidden an somewhere, that which is acting in behalf. But I think this would be way too complex right now, so I'll just avoid them. So instead, I'll just say few of the tools, few of the harf that we got. We had an. When we get an, I think we got kai also, and then harful jar li. I don't know if we got anything else. There's other tools. There's a lot more, right? So if we get these tools, these hurufs before fi'l mudari, the present tense verb, it will get a fatha. Okay, so li yata'allama. So ja'a Ahmadu, Ahmad came li yata'allama. So what does li means? Li means in order to learn, in order that he learn. So it would be, word for word translation would be in order that he learns. This whole thing is ليتعلم. Learns what? اللغة العربية. So Ahmed came in order that he learns Arabic language. سأل أحمد. سأل is to ask. So Ahmed asked عن مكتب العميد. So Ahmed asked about the maktab. Remember, maktab has meaning desk, and it also means what? Office. Okay, I think before, they did not have separate office for the workers. They were probably just sitting in open field with desk, so now we have office, so it means both. So Ahmed asked about the office of Amid. Amid is a dean, so he asked about the dean's office. ذهب إليه في المكتب. Dhahaba is to go, ilayhi, so he went to the office. Okay. وَسَلَّمَ عَلَيْهِ وَقَدَّمَ لَهُ الْأَوْرَاقِ. And then salama, remember when you say salam, it always comes ala. That's why you say assalamu alaykum. So when salam has many different meanings, when you want to say in terms of giving salam, then we need harful jar ala. If you don't use it, then it might mean something else. Salama also means to submit. Okay. Now, so sallama alayhi, so that means he gave salam to him. وَقَدَّمَ لَهُ الْأَوْرَاقِ, and then he submitted or gave him the papers. فحص العميد الأوراق. So فحص, so he examined, the Amid, the dean examined the papers. So just note this should be very easy for you anyway, but since the chapter is talking about the verbs and the objects and doers, just pay attention to these things. Okay, so the dean examined the papers. وقبل أحمد. So now tell me what happens. Who is the doer here? Who's the doer subject? Huwa. Good. So it sounds like Ahmed is the doer, because after verb we get the doer. Like we have all the time Sa'ala Ahmed, Ja'a Ahmed. Well, no, because we have a fatha here. So we know Ahmed is not the doer. He cannot be the doer. Okay, so he needs to be the object. So who's the doer? The doer is the pronoun. Pronoun is huwa. And where does the huwa refers to? Huwa goes back to Amid. Now, so he, meaning the dean, accepted, okay, he accepted Ahmad. That means he accepted his application. خرج أحمد من مكتب العميد وشكره. So خرج means to go out. So Ahmed went out from the dean's office, and shakara, and then he thanked him. Shakara can come as a transitive verb. It can also come as intransitive verb. So if it comes in, you can use shakara with direct object like this. You can also use it with preposition. You can say shakara lahu. He thanked him. Both of them would be fine. Good. Then it says اقرأ هذه العبارات. Okay, so the text is finished. So this was small paragraphs. Nice, very simple things. So it says اقرأ هذه العبارات. Ibarat is from ibara, that means expressions. To read these expressions, ibara is expression. Expression. Okay. So ذهب إليه, سلم عليه, شكره, سأله, دخل عليه, أخذ منه. Okay, so I'm not sure what they're trying to note, but a few things I can mention. So we just talk, because I think it's something related to the topic that they're trying to get in, which is the transitive verb and intransitive verbs. And as you can see, ذهب is intransitive verb. Okay, but if you want to put something, then ذهب requires prepositions. There's some cases it's allowed in certain situation, but by and large, right now, you should not use ذهب as a transitive verb. You cannot say ذهب who, like he went to him, or ذهب مكة, he went to Makkah. No, you need a preposition. You need to say ذهب إلى مكة. Okay, sallama, and also not only that, remember in last class we were talking about how important it is to know which verb takes what preposition, right? You have to know the preposition that goes with this. For example, sallama alay. You cannot say I gave salam to Muhammad. And again, if you're coming from English and you're trying to translate, you might say sallama ilayka. I gave salam to you. So no, it's not going to work, because sallama does not take ila for that meaning. You have to use ala. So you say sallama alayka, So here it says sallama alayhi. And shakara, This one they're using as a direct object. This is fine. You can say shakarahu, he thanked him. Sa'ala, this is definitely transitive verb. Sa'ala, when you say sa'ala, you need an object. So sa'ala Muhammadan. Sa'ala Muhammadan. So that means he asked Muhammad. Okay. Now, so here they're just using pronoun, and that's why they're just attaching it. Sa'ala, who? So he asked him. Dakhala alayhi. Okay, so he entered upon him. So dakhala, it means to enter. So if you're entering to something, you cannot use a direct object. You cannot say dakhalahu. Okay, I think that's what they're showing, that some verb you can have a direct object, and some verb you simply can't. All of them they're using all of them they're using a pronoun huwa, like a third person singular. So they are trying to show how can we use this verb when we want to use as an object. Okay, so dhahaba, you want to go to him, you cannot say dhahabahu, although you can say sa'alahu. Why? Because sa'ala is transitive verb. If it's transitive verb, you can simply use a direct object. But if it's not transitive verb, you cannot. And then you also have to know what preposition goes with what verbs. Okay, so there's a lot of things going on here. And this one you also have to know. You cannot say dakhala ilayhi, he entered to him. So you have to know this preposition that goes with the verb. Dakhala ala is also something that I had to learn hard way, because it doesn't sound right to me. Dakhala ala, but that's how we use in Arabic. Dakhala alayhi, so he entered upon him. Akhadha minhu, see, he took from him. Okay. Sallamahu al-awraq. Here's what I meant, subhanallah, good. Here's what I meant about the verb sallamas. I'm so glad that they gave this example. Remember what I was telling you here, that when you say sallama, when you want to use this verb sallama as to give salam, then you need the ala, otherwise the meaning will not come. You want to say I gave salam to you, you say sallama alayka. Because the sallama, it also means something else. If you don't use the ala, then it will mean to submit. Okay, as you can see, he's using the verb sallama without the ala, without the preposition. He's using as a direct object who. So he submit, yeah, so this is another double transitive verb, subhanallah. And these guys are giving me a hard time here to explain. So first thing to note, sallamahu, that means he submitted it. So this one is not, without the sallama, without the preposition ala, it means to submit. But this verb also is double transitive. Okay, it is a double transitive, meaning like it will need two objects. Meaning he submitted this to him. So that means we need two objects. I submitted the papers to him. You see how these verbs needs two different objects in order to make the whole thing clear. So when you say sallama, it means he submitted this. Of course, we're talking about he as a doer. So he submitted the papers to him. Okay, so it's both of them are object. Does the Bob make it need to? Yeah, so not there's no specific Bob, the patterns or any types of ruling which one needs double object or not. You will learn them. There aren't many, but some verbs also takes three mafiles, three objects. Okay, some of them af'alul qulub. For example, if we say dhanna, or if we say alima, like no, I knew that Muhammad was a student. Okay, so you see, I knew or I thought. If you say I thought, even in English, you say I thought Muhammad. So first of all, let's put it in English, and then we'll see. I thought Muhammad a student. but it turns out he's a doctor, let's say. So look, the verb, the subject is I, so that part is gone. So I is the subject, the verb is taught. Now we have two objects here. Muhammad, a student. So that means you thought the Muhammad was students. So this verb needs two objects. Same thing would be in Arabic. Dhanantu, I thought Muhammadan taliban. Dhanantu Muhammadan what? Taliban. Okay, so you will learn them. Some verbs needs two objects. And sallama here in this case, I submitted this to somebody. Okay, I submitted the papers to him. So don't worry about this much, this one right now, because this one requires a little bit more discussion. But what I want you to know, that be careful with the verbs and its usage. Okay, if you want to say, because the verb can mean different things based on how you use them, based on whether are you using any prepositions or not, which I give you a very extreme example in last class when we talked about raghiba, right? And you know that ragiba depends on how you say it. If you say fi, it means your wish for something. If you say an, that means you don't wish for something. Which is completely opposite. Same thing, sallama, if you say with ala, it means to give salam. But if you use direct object, then it would mean to submit something. Okay. Okay, I think that's what the book is trying to show you here. Make sense? Pretty good stuff, but I think you have to be careful with those. Let's take the next one and then inshallah we will wrap up. It says, Ajib, her answer, uktub kalimata amid fi makani ha min al kalimati, they make this silly mistakes, min al kalimati sabiqati kama fil mithal. So write the word amid, which is din, fi makan, in the place of ha, from the words, from the previous words. Kama fil mithal. So we have dhahaba ilayhi. Oh, so basically this from they're talking about here, it's kind of linked. Dhahaba ilayhi. So instead of saying ilayhi, you say dhahaba ilal amidi. So very simple exercise, honestly. So simply they want you to replace the ha with amid. That's all. Okay. Sallama alayhi. You say sallama alal amid. And of course you need kasra because of the preposition. Okay, qaddama lahu al-awraqa. You say qaddama lil amidi. Let me do this one. Qaddama lil amidi al what? No, al awraq. Okay, so remember we talked about how we connect harful jar li with alif lam. You simply drop the hamzatul wasal. So you say qaddama lil amidi al awraq. It should be very simple. So how would you do this one? Shakarahu. How do you say shakarahu? You will say what? Shakara al-amida. Okay. So basically you're replacing the ha and replacing with amid, but also paying attention to the i'rab. You're paying attention to the grammar. So whether does it take a fatha, does it take a kasra? Okay, so here it's taking a kasra and here it's taking a fatha. Should be very good and simple exercise. Okay.